This is what afternoons are made of. Are you streaming? I hope you are, because we are learning quite a lot. Trev is in the building, the host of Cars with Big Boy Trev on KTN Home every single Sunday. And I know a lot of you have driven on these roads, and it's important to learn about the quality and the benefits of a good motor oil. We're talking about the introduction of Shell Helix HX7 and HX8 with Flexi Molecule technology. Trev is in the building. We are continuing with this amazing series, and I've been looking forward to it. To all the latecomers, grab a seat. We're going to be continuing with this chat, and we're getting straight into an interesting scenario where your car just does not want to behave. And there's this thing called the engine knock. What is this?
Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope you tuned in. Engine knock, it's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, for most of you, you've experienced an engine knock. It's basically the engine giving up due to various reasons. Quitting. It could be irregular mixture of air and fuel. Maybe you were pushing the car too hard and too fast, and the system was unable to cope with the stress of that particular cycle, so it knocks. So basically what engine knock is the irregular ignition of the air and fuel mixture. Irregular, and I say there's a pattern at which it should knock. So it goes in cycles of 4. So induction, compression, ignition, and then exhaust. So if that system is just destabilized, then the chances of creating a lot of pressure within this combustion chamber can literally crack a piston, bend a valve, and then to lead to catastrophic failure. I have experienced that personally.
In traffic?
No, I was driving to Nakuru, and I had a V6. I mentioned what car. It's a V6, pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So I was gunning it and feeling the power, and I slowed down because there was a truck in front of me.
Right.
And the moment I wanted to overtake,
that's when.
And I floored it. I think the engine just, there's a surge of fuel air, and it was not at the right timing, and bang, I just had a loud bang. Bam. And the car stopped. You can imagine all the lights, everything went off.
Wow, that could be scary.
Yes, it was pretty scary because first there was no momentum. So I had to, even the little momentum that I had to roll away to avoid danger because I was trying to overtake a vehicle. And engine failure can cost a lot. It depends on what kind, what make, but basically engine failure means engine failure. The cost of repair is extremely high.
I can imagine.
And one of the things that once I opened up the engine and we had a discussion with my mechanic is I didn't have enough lubrication. That was the simplest question, because we checked the valve guides, we checked even underneath the crank, there was no oil that was moving along. And the funny thing is, even where the galleries are like capillaries in the body where blood passes. Also, galleries are channels at which oil passes within the engine. They were clogged because of the high heat, high temperature. All right. So that starvation of oil within the lubricating system created that knock effect, and it cost me extremely, I had to replace the engine.
Sorry about that, Trev. I'm learning that it happens even to the best drivers. There's mechs who even do not know. Yes. Is it something easy to identify? And assuming you're speaking to someone who is new on the road, you've got your learner sticker, and something like this happens to your car, is it something easy to identify?
It is very easy to identify if you notice the telltale signs, because you'll probably know. The easiest way to know this is if you're driving a small turbocharged engine. So people with the Golfs, the Audis with the 1.4 turbo and the Polos, you'll be able to feel that. So basically you lose compression. When I say lose compression, when you're trying to take off, say from traffic, and you're moving from 0 and trying to accelerate, the accelerator doesn't respond to the surge of power. Okay? So sometimes it will be erratic. It won't be as smooth. It will be like a huge surge and then it will drop. That means the mixture, the air and fuel mixture, is not being compressed enough, or it is pre-igniting before. So that creates that irregularity, and you can hear a knock or pinging sound. So when you open up the hood, and if you have a very sharp sense of hearing, you hear like It could be valves, it could be anything, but that sound is very distinct. And if you notice that, just take your car, have it diagnosed. All right. First, check the level of oil. Check the level of oil, because chances are you ignore. Like, oh, my car is fine, I just serviced it the other day.
Yeah.
Make it a habit of checking oil every week to prevent engine knocking. I learned my lesson the hard way.
Wow. Every week.
Every week.
And there's people who trust their cars so much. They know, I don't need to check this car. This car knows what it needs to do. I don't need to have, the specialists at the petrol station look at it. The car is fine. You're saying every week, make sure you do this diligently. Check it, especially if you're going to be doing a long distance trip.
Yes.
So how frequently should you have your mechanic look at the car in general? There's that weekly,
Yes.
you go make sure that gets checked. There's people who don't do this unless they're going to be traveling a while. But how frequently should you have your mechanic check how the entire system is working?
Of course, there are service intervals. We call them service intervals. And you have minor, intermediate, and major. So minor happens every 3 months or after every 5,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. So that happens even if you've been driving in Nairobi, you haven't gone up country or long distance. After every 3 months, make sure you take it to your mechanic, because that is the level of expiry for the current oil grades. But if you're using Shell Helix HX7, it will give you up to 8,000 kilometers.
Nice.
All right. If you're doing the HX8, it will give you up to 10,000. So Shell have come up with this formula that will be able to make you extend even the service interval, because sometimes you might be broke during the beginning of the month and you need to stretch it towards the end when you have money. So it is able to still give you that added protection even after some time. And I'm not meaning that you extend by purpose, like, I'm driving.
I'm good.
I'm good. We can do another 2 months. No, you have to be careful and be able to, maintain that viscosity in the engine and protect your engine.
And then they'll be DMing Trev, what happened to my car? What's
Correct.
going on? I think it's really scary, especially if you knew you could have.
Yes.
You hit the road, stuff happens. There are times we see very important people causing traffic for hours, and you find yourself in a situation you could have avoided. And then you didn't do it simply because you are not diligent enough. As you heard, there's intervals, and then if you can, even if it's just to and from work, 5 days a week, make sure you get your car checked. When was the last time you discussed motor oils with your mechanic? And how much do you know about a quality motor oil? If your mechanic has to keep trying to convince you about the benefits of motor oil, then your car is definitely not performing at its best. Motor oils lubricate engine parts, which are in constant friction. It thus reduces friction, which tends to increase wear and tear of engine parts. The flexi molecules in Shell Helix HX7 and HX8 constantly adapt inside the engine to protect critical engine parts. The flexi molecules activate when high pressure and high temperature situations arise. Modern engines come with advanced technology that demands high performance in smaller engines. So how does Shell Helix come in? Flexi molecules in Shell Helix HX7 and HX8 activate under high pressure to form a protective barrier on metal contacts, providing extra protection when most oil is squeezed out. Also, high temperatures to form protective barrier and oxidation control in turbocharged engines. We're going to be learning more, and we're going to be having the question of the day with the host of Cars with Big Boy Trev and a Shell car expert right here on Car Culture with Trey Sticks F1. Stay tuned to hear more. I hope today's question is going to be easy, and we're going to be getting into a very interesting term. And we're going to ask that question in a moment. But before we do that, one of the things that we need to touch on is another area of this conversation. And there's this thing that I was hearing about, and it is the LSPI, an abnormal combustion phenomenon.
Yes.
Break it down.
Now, LSPI, class, hope you're paying attention.
Look at you. Look at you. Dangling a carrot.
Yes.
Anyway.
I hope you're paying attention. So, low speed preignition is a phenomenon. It's a It's a phenomenon that happens in petrol engines. Okay. Now, just to give an easy distinction between a petrol engine and a diesel engine, is that a petrol engine ignites using this. It's called a spark ignition system. So it uses a spark plug to ignite the mixture of air and fuel. But in a diesel, it uses just air and the diesel mixture compressed at high pressure and temperature to ignite. But pre-ignition happens even on petrol engines. And this is simply because when you floor the vehicle when it is not expecting the surge of fuel and air, because remember, what controls the amount of air and fuel is a flap on the inlet manifold. When you step on the gas, basically it's like a flap, it's like a switch, it's like a door. So when you open the door too wide, what happens? Air gets in and the computer senses, oh, Monique wants to drive really fast. So I need to give her enough fuel so that I'm able to give her the maximum power she requires. So, most manufacturers will tell you when you're driving off, drive gradually so that the computer knows that you're able to accelerate easily and the system will be able to manage that and be able to cope with the extra attention you need. But when you're gunning it immediately, this is what happens. So the engine will sense Monique wants to drive really fast. Maybe you're trying to overtake. All right. So when you step on the gas, the air comes in, the fuel will be injected. There will be a lot of fuel at high pressure and at low RPM. It means the fuel can ignite on its own without even reaching the moment at which the spark is supposed to ignite it. So when that happens, there is an explosion within the chamber. And perhaps maybe the valve was open to allow more air. So what happens? That explosion can cause a valve to bend. And the easiest example is I'm going to tweet a picture right now and show you what happened to me even on that same day.
Wow.
Because it was a mixture of pre-ignition and, of course, engine knock. Same thing that happened to me. So once it bends, basically the vehicle just stops or stalls. You can have a rough idle, an engine can seize altogether, so it will lead to engine seizing and engine knocking. So that phenomenon happens a lot, especially if you don't give the vehicle time to warm up in the morning, or if you've been driving just gently and then just give it the gas. Chances are, if you haven't been using the right type of lubrication, it's not HX7, HX8 with flexi molecule technology, chances are that particular system will create low speed pre-ignition and will lead to catastrophic failure.
Wow, Trev, I'm enjoying class and I think I want to sit at the front. Have you ever had those lessons that were so good? You're like, I just want to move forward. I want to sit in front so I can get a little bit more. We're going to be discussing about the benefits of Shell HX7 and HX8 with flexi molecule technology in the next hour. And we're going to be throwing in a question so that someone can walk away with 5K, just like that. 5K 5 years ago was magic.
A lot of money.
It was a lot of money.
Yes.
And it still is, in my opinion, especially when you have more month at the end of your money and you cannot see end month anywhere in sight. You're going to need that 5K.
Of course.
And you want to make it easy.
Yes, I'm going to make it easy today. So if you've been very keen listening to our discussion today, I want you to tell me and tell us, myself and Monique, what does LSPI mean? All right, one more time. What does LSPI mean? If you were attentive and you listened, please tweet or send a message to all our social media handles. Don't forget to put the hashtag Spice Drive with Shell and tag Monique and myself, and you'll be able to probably have a chance. You might be the winner to win 5K today.
I like it. And that's how you filter with the hashtags you're looking for, because everyone seems to be clear on the answers. So you filter by looking at who didn't have a hashtag, make sure you get it correctly. And of course, the handle Shell_Kenya Spice FM KE. You're tuned into Car Culture with Shell Helix HX7 and HX8 with flexi molecule technology right here on the Spice Drive. Just looked at some interesting elements about this conversation, and now you know your mech should be telling you about motor oil and the quality motor oil. Shell Helix uses flexi molecule technology, which allows your car to adapt to any driving condition and reduce the risk of wear and tear. Shout out to Trev. He's given us all the tips we need and how much we are learning on how we're saving by investing in a good quality motor oil. And we've been all over social media hunting for the perfect winner. The question and the winner.
Yeah, so the question for your chance to win 5K was, what does LSPI mean? And we trolled and checked all the social media handles, and we decided to follow on Instagram. And we got a guy called Malik_Abdi, where he says LSPI means low speed pre-ignition, and put the correct hashtag, which is Spice Drive with Shell, tagged myself, Monique, and CBBT. So congratulations, 5K Niyako.
Wow, just like that. I am in love with this. Congratulations, Malik. And of course, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.